He was supposed to deliver an economic-focused speech yesterday in North Carolina, but just as you put, Willie, minutes after taking the stage, he questioned the significance of the economy in November's election, and again veered off several times to personal attacks on Vice President Kamala Harris. Take a look.
Now, this is a little bit different day because this isn't around. We're talking about a thing called the economy. They wanted to do a speech on the economy. A lot of people are very devastated by what's happened with inflation and all of the other things. So we're doing this as a intellectual speech. You're all intellectuals today. Today we're doing it, and we're doing it right now, and it's very important. They say it's the most important subject. I think crime is right there. I think the border is right there, personally. We have a lot of important subjects because our country has become a third world nation. We literally are a third world nation. We're a banana republic in so many ways, and we're not going to let that happen because we're starting a free fall. She went from being a totally disrespected person 6 weeks ago. Nobody thought she had a chance. Nobody, and I don't think she can possibly win. If she does, our country is finished. You want to know the truth. But she was totally disrespected. The most unpopular vice president in the history of our country. For nearly 4 years, Kamala has crackled as the American economy has burned. What happened to her laugh? I haven't heard that laugh in about a week. That's why they keep her off the stage. That's why she's disappeared. That's the laugh of a crazy person, I will tell you, if you haven't known it. It's a crazy. She's crazy. They told her, don't laugh, don't laugh. No, it's her. No, her laugh is career-threatening. They said, don't laugh. She hasn't laughed. She doesn't laugh anymore. It's smart, but someday it's going to come out. That's the laugh of a person with some big problems. We're not going to let this incompetent socialist lunatic keep breaking our economy for 4 more years. It'll destroy our country. On Election Day, we're going to tell her that we've had enough, that we can't take it anymore, Kamala. You're doing a horrible job. You know why she hasn't done an interview? Because she's not smart. She's not intelligent. And we've gone through enough of that with this guy, Crooked Joe.
It's sort of overwhelming because, yeah.
I just feel the need to laugh, Mika.
Simone, like, I do feel the need to laugh. And actually, Kamala's laugh, her on TikTok, she is killing it with the young people and all those things that people on the far right are putting out there as like, look how crazy young people love. And she's becoming an internet sensation for laughing, for saying things and then enjoying a joke or actually answering questions from young people that are funny. And it's just sort of interesting to watch all this turn on its head for Republicans who think it's going badly for her, but don't miss the part where it's going really well. Or when you do, you actually have to grasp and say that her crowds are created by AI. So, Katy, I tried to follow that. And this is the interesting thing about Donald Trump, and it's important for those preparing to debate him or interview him, because he goes on so many strange tangents that you can't keep up to a point, and then when he realizes he's not going anywhere, he just starts attacking someone personally. I think he was talking about the economy, and I think he said it was an important subject, but then he moved to the border and talked about, you know, this third world nation that we live in, the United States of America, and then said that the economy was in a free fall. And then at that point, when perhaps, I don't know, maybe he realized he didn't know what he was talking about, or maybe he just lost his train of thought, then he goes into these attacks against Kamala Harris. But again, on, you know, in the world of TikTok and in the world of campaign coverage, the very things he's talking about, a lot of people really love.
Yeah, Donald Trump doesn't really like giving policy speeches. He doesn't really like policy. He feels that kind of hems him in a bit, and it pins him down to ideas and things that he might have to deliver on. He tends to prefer the personal, which is why he goes on attack on the personal. I mean, I had lunch this week with somebody who's advising him, speaks to him every week, and said, look, every minute not spent speaking about the economy, immigration and crime is minutes lost. Well, there you have a kind of hour-plus long speech, and about 10 minutes of it is economic policy, which is basically cutting taxes, and the rest of it is, like you say, Mika, kind of meanderings into the personal, because that's just where he feels more comfortable. When it comes to debating him, I think Donald Trump is one of the hardest people to debate. I think Kamala Harris is excited about the prospect of debating him, but he's not an easy person. Ask anyone who has debated him. He's not an easy person to debate because of all of this. And I think Democrats have to be careful not to underestimate how, yes, everything is moving in their direction. Yes, like you say, Kamala Harris is a massive TikTok phenomenon at the moment, but they have to make sure those young people actually turn out and vote. And historically, obviously, young people turn out and vote in lower numbers than older people. And, you know, be careful about prepping for the debate, right? Because this is not going to be easy for them.
You know, Mike, as you listen to that speech and the tone that Donald Trump brings, the American carnage tone, reminded of the line that Governor Josh Shapiro uses, which I won't repeat here, but basically says, hey, man, stop S-talking America. We actually love this place. We know we're imperfect. We've got things to work on. The border could be better. The economy, inflation could be lower. But why do you hold this country in such low regard? And when you listen to that, you wonder. I know there's a core group that connects with, but most Americans are proud of this place we live in. We want to improve it every day. We got a ways to go to make it the place that it should be and can be. But the joy that we see at the vice president's rallies that uplifts these crowds versus what you see in that speech, the contrast is really stark, and it's a contrast that the Harris campaign likes to see.
Yeah, it's literally the campaign is yesterday versus tomorrow. I mean, we just saw yesterday. We saw a man standing there on the stage saying, we are literally a third world country. I don't know anyone who believes that we are literally a third world country. And the thing about the Trump campaign now that makes me wonder a lot about it is Susie Wiles and Chris LaCivita running their campaign are extremely good at what they do, but they seem to have lost control of their candidate. Their candidate has a tired 20-year-old act. We just saw it. Yeah. He updates it with some figures from the past 2 or 3 years, but it's a tired old act. The election was stolen. We're a third world country. Crime is up. Immigrants are going to rape your daughter. All sorts of fear factors, and a lot of it with huge, ugly racial overtones, especially when it comes to the vice president. And you wonder, how long will it be before he really goes out of control? And I think what's going to happen is when that debate occurs and he's in the ring with the vice president of the United States, a woman, a very sophisticated, very intelligent woman, and she hammers him like a prosecutor and doesn't let him off the hook, he will go, well, I can't say it, but something will snap in him, and that'll be it.
And certainly there is that juxtaposition of cop versus con, prosecutor versus convicted felon. We should remember that's still a major issue here, too. And you mentioned Susie Wiles and Chris LaCivita, campaign leadership team. For now, I mean, there is growing unhappiness from Trump. I know we're going to get to that in a moment with Hugo about his team. We should note in every presidential campaign Donald Trump has ever run, he has fired his campaign manager in the month of August. 3 for 3. This could be number 4. And this is, or 2 for 3, and this could be number 3. And I think that there is growing unhappiness. They have not been able to adjust to what the change atop the Democratic ticket. And we're going to see another news conference from Trump today for exactly that reason. He's upset with his staff. He feels like only he can turn this around. He's his best messenger. So that's why he's going in front of
And the problem is putting him out there. We just see all this again. He thinks it helps him, but I think most of his advisors disagree. We mentioned Hugo Lowell. Let's bring in the senior political correspondent for The Guardian. Out just this morning with new reporting. His piece titled Top Trump Advisors in Turmoil After Campaign's Worst Month of 2024. Hugo, good morning. So let's continue this conversation. John just mentioned it. 2 well-regarded political operators at the top of this campaign. Are their jobs in trouble?
You know, look, the shocks are circling. It has been a bad enough previous month for the Trump campaign, that there are enemies, kind of real and perceived, I think, that are starting to look at the Trump campaign's leadership team and really start to tell Trump, you know, you got to get rid of these guys and you got to reset and you got to do it now. And the meeting that, you know, consistently comes up in kind of people's minds around the campaign is this August 2nd meeting that happened between Trump, Lara Trump, and Kellyanne Conway, where they kind of discussed like strategy and kind of policy positions. And Kellyanne Conway told us that she did not talk about anyone's titles or mention any names or said that anyone should be fired. But the takeaway from that meeting for the Trump campaign leadership was Kellyanne's coming for their jobs, or at least they had such a bad month that Kellyanne felt emboldened enough to make a play, or felt emboldened enough to kind of suggest that, you know, they needed to go. And the takeaway for the campaign is they have to take this very, very seriously. You know, as John said, summertime is a bad month for the Trump campaign historically. In 2016, they brought in Kellyanne Conway and David Bossie and Steve Bannon. And in 2020, they replaced Brad Parscale with Bill Stepien. And so this has historically been the time when Trump makes changes, and there is some concern now that this could be in the offing.
Hugo, there's been some reporting, too, that Donald Trump now at this point is unhappy with the choice of J.D. Vance as his running mate, that he perhaps would have preferred someone else. This is him deflecting, obviously, what's been happening over the last 4 weeks to blame somebody else as if it's J.D. Vance's fault for what he says out there and how things are going. But are you picking up any of that, any regret, buyer's remorse?
You know, I think there was some remorse initially when the childless cat comments came out. I think it's kind of shifted a little bit, and it's because, you know, as ever in Trump world, it's whoever has the last word with Trump, and the last word with Trump at the moment is, you know, J.D. Vance could continue to be okay for us because if you think about it from the Trump campaign's perspective, the one thing that J.D. Vance does, it targets a very specific demographic that the campaign is trying to turn out, and that's the white male vote. And kind of my colleagues have also reported on this, but J.D. Vance does speak to that demographic, and they think, you know, if there is one way they can pitch it to Trump in a way that he won't sour on his running mate, it is to say, look, this is a guy that can get out a key demographic for us in November, and so you need to stick with him, you know, regardless of how you feel at this point.
All right, senior political correspondent for The Guardian, Hugo Lowell, thank you very much for being on with us.